Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Critic Kitchen from Cardboard Alchemy. Critic Kitchen is a 2 to 5 player game of desperately trying to grab the right ingredients to satisfy the food critic coming to town across 7 rounds of play, but also trying to make sure that you accomplish the various cooking challenges along the way. This is a prototype, rules and components subject to change, and of course I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. The basic premise of Critic Kitchen is exactly what I said. You are trying to gather ingredients every single round. Every round you're going to send off your various sous chefs trying to gather ingredients from the various locations on the board, and the reason you're gathering those ingredients is ultimately to satisfy the critic over here who wants to go ahead and have a full plated meal of all the various courses, every one of the 7 possible types of courses in the game, and they want to have the best possible meal. Now they have their own rules as far as how they're going to score points. So for example, the food critic we currently have in play is the rabbit who's going to treat the numbers on carrots as doubled. So whenever you see a carrot, this 6 over here is really going to be a 12 because the score is doubled, and score on those various ingredients is a prime component in how well those recipes are scored. And whenever you have a recipe, whether it's the final 7-course dish or whether it's the various challenges that are going to be revealed every single round showing you 3 different ingredients that are part of that specific challenge, whenever you have a number, the higher the overall number is going to be a factor in how many points you score. So we have the rabbit. The rabbit doubles the score of all carrots, but we also, in this game, or in any game, you're going to have various rumors in play of what that critic likes. That critic, that person, the rabbit, sure, we know they like carrots, but do you also know that they like, well, actually, I don't know. Let's go and look at one of these rumors over here. Over here, they like varied leftovers. They're going to give you a star, a point, for every unique number on an ingredient not plated, plus 1 star for whoever has the most unique numbers not plated. So at the end of the game, whenever you have leftovers in the game, for every unique number that you did not actually utilize in your score, you're going to get extra points for that, and knowing that in advance can be a big factor in helping you plan for these 3 different rumors and how to score optimally. So again, you're scoring for the critic, the critic's going to have their own criteria. There's also going to be 3 rumors in play that will give you different scoring metrics, but then you also, like I said already, across those rounds of play, across the first 6 rounds of play out of the 7-round game, you're going to have various challenges that are coming out every round. Every round you're going to reveal a new challenge, and that's going to give you something to be mindful of, and at the end of the 3rd round, you're going to try to accomplish all those challenges to whatever extent you can, and then rinse and repeat for rounds 4, 5, and 6, revealing one at a time, and then accomplishing those challenges as well before you have a final 7th round to go ahead and prepare for the critic. Now, in between those rounds, at the end of round 3, you can also hold on to some degree of leftovers. You can hold on to 5 ingredients in your freezer, so you can use most of what you gathered in those first 3 rounds for these ingredients, and you can hold on to 5 ingredients for the next batch of stuff. Again, at the end of rounds 4, 5, and 6, you can hold on to 10 ingredients total, and that means you're going to have 10 ingredients from the first 6 rounds, but also whatever you get in round 7, that's going to be what you utilize for that critic. Now that we've kind of covered that overview, let's talk about what you actually do to gather these ingredients, because we haven't talked about that at all. In the game, you're going to have these various locations on the board, and you are going to take your hand of cards, and you're going to go ahead and secretly place this hand of cards, which has specific locations. If you want to go to the black market, well, you play that black market card, and you'll play it face down on one of your 3 assistant spots. You see, you have 3 assistant spots in the game. You have 3 assistants in the game, and those assistants are all operate differently in the sense that you have your first assistants is your fastest assistants, and they are going to be able to carry 1 thing, but they go the fastest. Then you have the middle one, who is the middle speed, but they also carry 2 things, and your slowest assistant can carry 3 things, but that's only if there's still stuff there when they get there. Meaning, a practical example over here is if I go ahead, let's utilize the water market over here. If I place the water market, and these are all being done face down, you can only guess what players are doing. If I place the water market down over here on my fast assistant, and I place the water market down over here on my slowest assistant, that slowest assistant can go ahead and carry 3 things. But when we reveal the cards, and you're revealing all of them simultaneously, I'm just revealing some of them right now, but when you reveal the cards, you're going to go ahead and put your assistants out, and this person over here, because he's so fast, gets first pick of one of these 3 ingredients. So for example, that 6 carrot can be really useful because of the rabbit in play. He'll go ahead and take that, and that means the slow assistant, even though they normally can carry 3, they will only get 2 because that's all that's currently left. Versus, if this person hadn't gone there at all, then they would get all 3 ingredients. Which means you're constantly playing a game as you place your cards, because every round what you're going to do is you're going to take your 3 cards, you're going to select them all face down, putting them in various zones, and then going ahead and revealing where your assistants have gone. Revealing and showing all the various locations, putting them onto the board, and all the players at the table are doing that, but that means everyone's playing a bit of a game of trying to figure out what do you actually want, what do you think others will want, and what do you think you're likely to get depending on which assistant you send where. So for example, the water market right now is actually is very sought out territory, which means it could go either way. Either you want to go ahead and send your fast assistant there because you want to get there before there's nothing left, or alternatively you kind of understand that maybe everyone's thinking that and nobody wants to send their fast assistant to get the right ingredient, only to have 3 fast assistants there anyway, and your fast assistant doesn't even benefit you because now you have to resolve tiebreakers to anyways maybe partially get what you want. If you're going to commit your fastest person, you want to get what you want, not run the risk that you don't get what you want. But maybe everyone's thinking that, so maybe you should do it. There's a whole game of Wi-Fi. I'm wine in front of me for the Princess Bride. The idea that I know what you're going to do, but then I know you know what you're going to do, so you're going to do this and I'm going to do that. But then I know that you're going to do that, so I'll do this instead. You are constantly playing that game as you try to think through what you actually want and how do you get that thing. To that end, there's 3 kinds of ingredients over here. There's going to be the actual ingredients, which have the 7 types of ingredients and a numeric value, which is going to be helpful for the endgame critic, as well as for those plated challenges. Every plated challenge has a number between 6, 12, or 21 between the combined ingredients, and that will just determine whether it's worth 1, 2, or 3 points. You also have spice, which will double the listed ingredients. So if you place this spice over here on that wine, if you place that wine spice on the 7, that'll make it a 14, which is incredible. But then you also have these rumors here, which will show you the specific type of rumor in the game. This is a wild rumor. You can pick anything. This one over here is that, and that's where you're going to have the opportunity to go ahead and slowly check out those rumors. That's basically what's happening in Critic Kitchen. There's a few other small details I didn't get into, but the general idea is every single round, across 6 rounds of play, you're going to reveal a new challenge, you're going to go ahead and send out your assistants, you're going to gather food, you're going to restock the market. There's a few other small details like how the soup truck works over here. The black market has 5 spots, but you only reveal them after you go there. The Chef Academy is going to give you the opportunity to get these various extra sous chefs, which give you an extra placement every round, plus that's where all the extra food that hasn't been selected goes. So a lot of peripheral things, but basically, this is how you play Critic Kitchen. Which brings us to the review, starting off with ease of play. The game is fairly easy to understand, fairly easy to get into. Game time runs anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending heavily on how fast players are, what their AP is like, because this is a game that can drag with the wrong group. And also, you know, the player counts as well. If you're playing a 2-player game, it's going to go significantly faster than a 4 or 5-player game. Well, not significantly faster, because the truth is a lot of it is simultaneous play, but it still will be faster. So anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half, in my opinion. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which is the secret bidding, the main core mechanism in the game. The idea that you're constantly trying to figure out, you know what you want, you understand that part. The variety of the game, because another aspect of what I like is the variety of the game, because there are so many things that give you slight twists to how the game plays out. And some of them feel semantically different. So for example, if you know, let's go ahead and find the critics over here. If we go ahead and, no, not that one over here, no. Here we go. For example, like, you know, the mouse over here. The mouse wants cheese to be a primary ingredient helpful. The rabbit wants carrots. So the idea that, you know, you have different ingredients that are prioritized, and they are prioritized in different ways, but the idea that sometimes you have a little more semantic differences, meaning prioritizing one ingredient over another, but other times you have ways that the game is played that are differently, prioritizing certain values of ingredients, treating certain ingredients as leftovers. So there are different critics that will force you to approach the game differently as far as how you gather different things. And then the rumors will do the exact same thing, a pile of rumors that you have, a very pile of rumors of which only 3 are in the game. Well, 1 technically is a way to get more. Either way, of the various rumors, of the 3 rumors in the game, you're going to have different ways that force you to re-examine how you want to collect things, how you want to store things, when you want to accomplish a challenge, when you want to hold back. There are a lot of things going on that will in some way mix up the experience, taking the core basic experience and making it varied game to game. There's also going to be a few other things, and it's worth noting that I don't know exactly what's covered in the standard version of the game, the Kickstarter version of the game, so make sure to check out the Kickstarter page for all of that information. But there's also various modules over here. We have asymmetric chefs over here that will give each player a different way that they play the game, a different strength they have. You're going to have different challenge modules over here that give you different types of ingredients, and their matching cards over here that give you different things you can do. You can add in tofu to the game, which will give you a new rule as far as how that ingredient is implemented into the experience. So you have a bunch of these things that can mix things up. And so there are a bunch of ways that keep the game state variable as you approach it every single time. But past that, that main bidding mechanism, that idea that you are secretly bidding on what you want, and you're trying to think through, well, I know the water market is obviously the best spot here, but do I gamble on that or do I not? Do I play it safe? Do I just say, you know what, I'll go here and get this 6 cheese. I'll know I'll need the cheese for the savory stack over here. So what do I do? What is the thing that is likely to get me what I want? Is it go big, go broke, go home? Do you try to play it safe? How do you approach this? Is a challenge you'll have to confront yourself with every single round of play. It's a simple mechanism. It's been done before in other games. It works well here. That secret bidding that relies on trying to vie for what you think is going to work out, depending on how players actually play their own cards as far as how they play their cards and try to get their own things in the game. You also have to balance seeking what you need now versus when to cash in. Those challenges are a big part. Those challenges are going to give you points, but maybe you want to hold on to things for that rabbit. You get that 6 carat early on in the game, do you go ahead and use it for the fact that those tasty tapas over here can give you a high score? I mean, that 6 over here is 12 points already towards the tasty tapas. That on its own is already 12 points towards that score. Do you go for that? Or maybe not. Maybe you hold on to it for that final course for the rabbit because it'll be helpful there. So there's a constant challenge as far as a constant trade-off as when you use things for challenges versus when you hold things for the end game, and being mindful of your storage space at the same time. And so the variety, the bidding, the challenge of what you do, the extra helpers. I like this stack of extra helpers that give you just every round you have a different helper that's going to be in the game, and they give you slightly different rules of breaking the game as far as how you're not breaking the game, of different things you can do, how that helper operates in the game. And so again, there's variety, there's a simple mechanism, the ease of play. It's a very simple game to teach and get people up and running. It is complexity light, I guess. It's complexity light as far as the rules, while being still satisfying as far as the strategic decisions you are making as you play. As far as what I don't like in the game, first of all, I do find that this game works best at 4+. And that might be a me thing, I don't know, but I've played this game at a few different player counts, and I find that, for me, the lower player counts on this game, while it does work, I don't get the same rush of the experience. It feels less like a deep competition where I have to outplay what everyone else is going to do, and it feels more like there's just a bunch of stuff on the... It doesn't feel as tense, or... When the primary mechanic to me is playing cards to go to certain locations, trying to predict where other players are going to go, trying to figure out how you're going to get what you need out of it, when that's the primary mechanic, I feel it works best at 4+. 3's good, 2's okay, but 4+ I think is where this game thrives, which is not a problem in and of itself. For me, it's a bit of a problem because I find my 4-player games just get less play, which means it's a harder choice as far as where this game lies for me because of the fact that the best player count is where my own personal collection is most competitive. So that's just a minor factor. Even though it's a 2 to 5 player game, for me, I enjoyed it most at 4+. I'll also say that the core puzzle can be a bit repetitive. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going across 7 rounds of play, across an hour to an hour and a half, whatever it is, as far as playing those cards, trying to predict where to go. It is a repetitive core mechanic. It does work to a large extent. The game state is going to mix it up because you're going to have different critics or different rumors or different things that force you to examine differently game to game. And so there is variety. There is variety that does keep the game fresher than it otherwise would be, but there's still a degree of repetition because across 7 rounds of play, you're play card, play card, play card, try to mind game where it goes, and ultimately it comes down to those mind games. That aspect of the why from, the trying to predict what other players are going to do, the trying to try to think through how to do things. It's all a little bit of a mind game, but you're doing that same thing for an hour, and so it's a core mechanic that is a little repetitive, and there's not much else going on that keeps it mechanically interesting or different game to game. As far as what I can see others not liking, first of all, ties can be a bit fiddly. I find the tie mechanic in the game, while it does work to a degree, sometimes it results in like things like, you know, just not even getting what you want at all, even though technically you're ahead in different tracks. I find the ties are the least satisfying resolution aspect when you have 2 players who go somewhere. I just wish the tiebreaker mechanic, I don't know if I want to say I wish it were different because I don't have a good suggestion, but it's a mechanic that aims for simplicity as far as how it resolves ties, but does so at the cost of sometimes feeling as fair as I would like it to be. And also, this game does have the capacity to walk away with very little or nothing. This is a game where, because it's all about those judgment calls, it means that sometimes you place your big guy in a spot where other people all went first. You have other people, you know, you have a 2 from a different faction or color over here, so you have like one of these guys over here, and now suddenly, before you know it, there's nothing there. And you'll always walk away with soup, you'll always get something out of it, but you know, playing your big guy to a spot and getting nothing out of it, forget getting less, getting nothing out of it, you make too many of those judgment calls, and yeah, that can be a frustrating experience. You do have to be able to predict what makes sense to play, but ultimately you can do so, and if other players just play better, or if you just make the wrong judgment calls, it can be an experience where you just walk away with less than you'd like round after round after round. As far as final thoughts on Critter Kitchen, I like the game. I like the game. It is a good experience. It gives you a lot of things it gives you a very simple rule set, a rewarding experience, a lot of mentally thinking through how to get what you want. It's a lot of fun as far as the variety of the critics, the variety of the various modules, things that keep it interesting game to game, and for the most part, it doesn't outstay its welcome. For me, the main things are what I said already, which is the player count. The optimal player count to me is at a higher player count, where it's a little harder for me to personally table things, and then also that concern about the longevity as far as that core mechanic is repetitive. The game does a good job of giving you other things to mix it up, but it's still the primary thing you're doing for an hour straight every single time you play, without much variety to your thought process as how to approach this. And so for me, this one is in one of those middle zones for me where I debate where to rate it, but for me right now, I'm going to give this a 4 to 5 right now. I am curious whether that 4 to 5 will hold up, but I do like it. The first time I played this, I was very excited to play it again, and the second time I played it, I was still excited to play it again, and so I'm still in this place where I'm very excited, very much enjoying it, appreciating what the game is doing, while still having some concerns as to where it lasts. This is coming off of Flamecraft from Cardboard Alchemy, which to me was a gorgeous, beautiful, pretty game that was a little lighter than my personal tastes, and I think that Critic Kitchen manages to maintain that charm while being a lot more deeper and more satisfying. It maintains the charm and it maintains the rules accessibility while being more satisfying in the actual strategic accessibility, or strategic decision making, I should say. In any case, speaking of which, as far as other game recommendations, first of all, Flamecraft. If you're looking for something with as much charm as this game, or possibly more charm, arguably, I can make the argument that it's more charm, Flamecraft from Cardboard Alchemy is a slightly lighter experience that has more charm, I guess, while being a very enjoyable gateway game. And then secondly, if you're looking for something that's a weird recommendation for this one, but it feels similar to a degree while giving you more things going on in the experience, Tribune is a game that is out of print, I believe. It's harder to track down, but if you can find a copy, Tribune to me very much has a similar feeling to all the various mechanisms going on in Flamecraft, in Critic Kitchen, as far as that blind bidding, as far as trying to outthink your opponent, trying to be mindful of what they're going to do and how you're going to do it, with a lot more going on in the overall experience. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.